Shh. Don't be scared. It's okay. I know you're afraid of carbs, but it's gonna be okay. Because guess what? They're not as scary as you think they are. In fact, carbohydrates aren't scary at all. Welcome back to Nutrition Mnemonics. Today we are going to be discussing carbohydrates. Carbohydrates give us fiber, and carbohydrates give us sugar to feed our brain and to feed our red blood cells, and carbohydrates give us energy and so much more. There are two types of carbohydrates, simple and complex. When we think simple, we think of those simple sugars, like those sweet treats, candy, desserts. When we think of complex carbohydrates, this is going to be either starch or fiber. And this is going to be more our fruits, our vegetables, our whole grains. But let's get even more specific than that. The first building block of a carbohydrate is called a monosaccharide, which makes the reason that it is called a monosaccharide is because it is one unit of sugar, and mono means one, and saccharide means sugar. This is going to be our first unit of sugar, our one unit of sugar, our monosaccharide. There are three types of monosaccharides. These include glucose, fructose, and galactose. Picture a bunch of fruits are glued together. We're talking apples, we're talking grapes, we're talking oranges. They're all held together with Elmer's glue. These fruits are glued together and they're floating throughout space. They're floating throughout the galaxy, all stuck together. The reason that it is fruit is because of fructose. The reason that they're glued together is because of glucose. And the reason that they're in the galaxy floating around is because of galactose. Galactose galaxy. Moving on from a monosaccharide, we have disaccharide. So it gets a little bit stronger and there's a little more effort required by the body to pull it apart. There are three types of disaccharides. The scientists made it easy on us this time because each of the three disaccharides starts with glucose. It's glucose plus something else. And the something else that we are adding to that glucose is another monosaccharide that we've already introduced. First up, we have sucrose. Sucrose is glucose plus fructose. To remember this, I picture sugar on some fruit, on some strawberries. Because fructose sounds like fruit and sucrose sounds like sugar. And then we have our lactose. Lactose is made of glucose. And what do you think? Is the second ingredient going to be a galactose or another glucose? Which of these is going to make up lactose? Yep, you're right. It is the galactose because it literally sounds like lactose and they all start with one glucose. So we're talking glucose and galactose equals lactose. Lastly, we have a maltose, which starts with a glucose as always. And the second ingredient is another glucose. So I imagine the two glucoses melting together into one, because the two glucoses equals one maltose, and malt sounds like melt. Glucose plus glucose equals maltose. Next up, we're going to talk about polysaccharides. We started with one monosaccharide, we added another to make a disaccharide, di meaning two, saccharide meaning sugar, and now we have a polysaccharide. Is a bunch of sugars put together. Poly means many, saccharide means sugar, and I like to think about it this way. When they're all put together, it's really hard to break it apart compared to just one or just two. Because these are so strong put together, that means it's also so strong for your body. It is so good for your body to be consuming these polysaccharides. But At a certain point, your body literally cannot break it down at all. And this type of polysaccharide that your body cannot break down, and if it can't break it down, it can't get calories from it, this is called fiber. I love fiber. I will never forget, I had a professor of my nutrient metabolism class that said, if you could change one thing about your diet to make your life so much better, it would be to add enough fiber to your diet. There are two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber. Insoluble fiber has many gorgeous functions: absorbing water, making you feel full, helping the food move along your digestive tract through what's called peristalsis. It makes your poops more thick and firm and comfortable to get rid of, so it adds bulk to your stool. And insoluble fiber helps prevent constipation, hemorrhoids, and diverticulitis. Let's talk more about the diverticulitis. When the lining of parts of your large intestine get little pockets, little bulges that form on the interior, pushing out into the exterior, a little bubble. And as things move through the digestive tract, they may get stuck into this little bubble and inflamed and all gross. Having the little pocket form in the first place is called diverticulosis, but getting something caught in there and that getting inflamed and infected and maybe even exploding your intestine in that area, that is called diverticulitis. If we are eating enough insoluble fiber, we can help protect ourselves from diverticulosis and diverticulitis. Soluble fiber is the type of fiber that is excellent for your heart. Some of the functions of soluble fiber include forming gels, lowering blood cholesterol, and helping your blood glucose levels to be in a normal range. You may be wondering, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious and stressed. How am I ever going to remember the difference between soluble and insoluble fiber? Well, don't be stressed anymore because I'm here for you. That's my job. That's what I'm not getting paid for. In order to remember the difference between these two, think about it this way. We have soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber is great for your heart. And when I think insoluble fiber, I think of those other functions we mentioned, but mostly I think of the diverticulitis. If you remember, the diverticulosis is when we get those little pockets in our intestines and things get caught inside. Things are getting caught inside the pocket, inside. Insoluble fiber helps to protect our intestines so that doesn't happen. We don't want things getting caught inside those pockets, so we must eat insoluble fiber. Yeah, it's pretty good, right?